The Rotoworld football crew is here to recap the 2019 season. Guys, it's over. Get to take a little breath.
It is.
A little free time.
It's never really over, Josh.
Catch up on things that have happened since August.
XFL season.
Okay.
That
makes one of us.
That's why I'm excited about what we're about to do right now. And let the record show that I pitched this as a David Letterman thought, which I think you're about to deliver. I'm not sure.
I can actually start raising my children now. So that's
Look, I thought you guys did way more work than me during the season. I don't need to see your reaction to that statement. So I took it upon myself to completely outline this topic, this video, which is the 10, that happened things from the season, and just want to get your honest reactions from each one.
We're going in blind. We don't know.
You've got no clue. So
I'm excited.
This is great for everyone out there. These are kind of in chronological order, somewhat. So let's start off at number 10 with Jalen Ramsey and Jadeveon Clowney. They were traded. These are two players that are arguably at the top of their positions in the NFL. Clowney was traded on August 31st for just a third-round pick, pass rusher Barkevious Mingo, and pass rusher Jacob Martin. Meanwhile, Jalen Ramsey was traded on October 15th after the cornerback missed multiple weeks. Remember that back injury that he was dealing with?
Right?
Two first-round picks, 2020 and 2021, and a fourth-round pick in 2021 as well. Ian, not often we see two name-brand quality players be moved in one season.
Yeah, and they both made a huge impact right away, too. I mean, Clowney was the best player, really, in that Seahawks front seven other than Bobby Wagner the whole season. And Ramsey, I mean, once he got to L.A., first game, Julio Jones traveled with him all over the field. I mean, we even saw him for the first time in his career, matchups against Juju Smith-Schuster, Allen Robinson, moving inside into his slot. I mean, most true shadow cornerbacks, we don't even need to worry about that much just because of how much they're truly not going inside, and they don't always spend every snap away from wide receiver. That's how Wade Phillips used Jalen Ramsey last year. We'll see if it sticks up with the new defensive coordinator this season, but still very good performance.
It was also mind-boggling because we know the Rams are dealing with Gurley, Goff, and Cook's contracts. They added Jalen Ramsey's upcoming contract to that, which is why I was shocked about the deal.
Yeah, I was going to say, anytime you can acquire Jalen Ramsey, you should, unless you are already paying Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, Brandon Cooks, Aaron Donald, etc. Questionable move.
Number 9. Jason Witten returned to the field. After one season in the booth for Monday Night Football, two, let's say, mixed results. Jason Witten returned to the field with obviously less hair as well. 63 receptions on the season, 529 yards, 4 touchdowns. What was the impact of Jason Witten this year, Pat? Was it more on the field or more when you were watching Monday Night Football?
I don't know. It's hard to say if the booth was improved. Jason Witten, he taught a whole new generation of tight ends how to catch and fall. So that was nice.
The true pontoon boat of the league, yes.
How to not gain yards after the catch.
This slander is unbelievable.
How to post a yards per catch that would be good if you were a running back, sort of. Really bad if you're a pass
I was
catcher.
stunned that he caught 63 balls this year.
Well, remember, we even have a Rotoworld blurb because they said he was going to average 25 snaps per game. He played 97% of their snaps.
Did he really?
Yeah, he just came back and played every single snap. And what's funny is that, and trust me, I know one of the best run-blocking tight ends in the league. I understand that aspect of it. But, like, every time you saw Blake Jarwin for 2 catches a game, he was always exploding for, like, 30-plus yard grabs.
And that's the problem. They have Tavon Austin out there. They want speed at the position, and Blake Jarwin has been one of Dak's most efficient targets, but just more Witten.
Yeah, but Jason Witten, one of the greatest tight ends in league history.
Future Hall of Famer.
Just not in 2019.
Not so much in the booth, though.
This season was just full of wild stories. Number 8, Sam Darnold got mono. Sam Darnold got the kissing disease known as mononucleosis. You remember
indefinitely.
You remember that Adam Gase press conference on a random Thursday telling the media that Darnold was out indefinitely after week 1 when he threw just 1 touchdown and 175 yards and sacked 4 times? Well, Sam Darnold didn't play again until week 6.
My favorite aspect of all of that, though, was that they ran out Luke Falk for a couple starts. And then the moment Darnold was active, they immediately cut Luke Falk. They were just like, yeah, we're done. No more of this.
And the minute he was active, they ended the Cowboys season. We didn't know it at the time, but if the Cowboys had won that game, their season would have been much different. So I had mono. I can speak. I'm a mono.
It was
expert.
a kissing disease.
We never found out how I got it. But I did. I played pickup basketball before I knew I had mono, and my spleen could have exploded. So
Good grief.
My life could have
True warrior, Patrick Doherty. Do we remember in preseason, Ian, when the Jets were like one of the 2 teams we were most excited for heading into the year?
Pace was
some
off.
people.
Like Gase is going to let him run no huddle sometimes.
I was not excited about
the whole part of that moment that I enjoyed, though, was just like the TV graphic where they showed Darnold, hair's looking good, points at the camera, out indefinitely.
Truly legendary meme moment.
Yes, best of the season.
Again, this season was just wild, and a story that just keeps getting weirder and weirder. Antonio Brown played a game for the Patriots this year. Antonio Brown worked and worked to get released from the Oakland Raiders, a team he was traded to this offseason. You remember the frostbite on his feet? Remember the helmet shenanigans? He was released and then signed just 6 hours later by the New England Patriots. It was reported as a one-year deal worth up to $15 million. That included a $9 million signing bonus. He took to the field in week 2, was basically force-fed. 8 targets, 4 receptions, 56 yards, and a score in a 43-0 rout.
I believe that he had a 40% target share in that game as well. I'm glad Antonio Brown made this in some capacity, because I figured it was either the Patriots appearance or the fact he was traded to the Bills hypothetically for 12 hours. Those were my 2 favorite Antonio Brown moments.
And I understand, like, this story and Antonio Brown has completely gone off the rails.
It's crazy.
In the worst way. But this was like the most consistent wide receiver in the NFL.
One of the best ever.
For 5 to 6 seasons, just putting up top 1 or top 2 wide receiver numbers.
Fresh off 15 touchdowns.
And now I would highly doubt if we ever see him again in a football field.
It just sucks because he was so much fun to watch. Like you said, I mean, the Roethlisberger-Antonio Brown connection was the most prolific in the NFL over the last half decade. And looks like we're probably never going to see him on the football field again.
He was on track to be the second most prolific receiver in NFL history. Jerry Rice.
The Raiders and Gruden renegotiated his contract to give him more guarantees, and he didn't see a penny of it. Like, his whole storyline this year is absolutely insanity.
People thought he was playing like 3D chess, it was the joke, master strokes, and turns out, it was the much sadder, and he's just kind of going crazy.
All right, next up, the Saints went undefeated with Teddy Bridgewater and without Drew Brees. Drew Brees suffered skier's thumb while his hand was hit on a follow-through against the Rams in week 2. Teddy Bridgewater then came in and went on to start the next 5 games. Again, went undefeated. Wins over the Seahawks, the Cowboys, the Bucks, the Jaguars, the Bears. 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, no fumbles for Teddy B. And this was Sean Payton's Matt Castle moment. It truly was.
And they used Taysom Hill less when they had Teddy Bridgewater on the field. They only got Taysom Hill involved when Drew Brees was in the game for some reason.
Kudos to Teddy for getting those wins, but to me, this was just more evidence than ever that Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara are what drives this offense. Look, Brees does it, Teddy does it. They check down this offense to receivers that get open because of Sean Payton's brilliant scheme.
Well, and kudos to the Saints. I mean, how many times do we see a season just completely ended by, a number 1 quarterback's injury? The Saints, who have been in all-in mode for 2 or 3 years now, invested a ton of money in the backup quarterback position and resulted in a 13-3 record.
And we know they didn't get a first-round bye. They went 13-3 still. And again, a 5-0 record without your starting quarterback is almost miraculous.
Incredibly impressive
in the league right now. Next up, Myles Garrett smashed Mason Rudolph with a helmet. Week 11 of the NFL season, the final play of the game. Myles Garrett takes down Mason Rudolph. Rudolph then takes a swipe at Garrett's helmet, but the, 272-pound pass rusher wins in the end, rips off Mason Rudolph's helmet and smashes it down like Thor's hammer on the quarterback. Punches and kicks ensue, and we know that Garrett missed the rest of the season. This is a moment you never see on an NFL field.
So there are 2 reactions to this moment. One is everyone will always remember where they were when this moment happened. The second is how overblown it was on Twitter the next morning or on social media in general.
How?
Like even your parents were talking about it.
How is that overblown when a dude takes off another person's helmet?
Well, it was abuse. I understand that.
How about when 3 of the other dude's teammates are jumping him the whole time?
But I didn't expect it to make
Let's not make excuses for Myles Garrett right now.
I thought it was a bit extreme when people were like, let's send in the U.S. Marshals and arrest him.
Well,
I've never seen anything.
Like, Mr. Daigle doesn't even watch sports, and he texted me the next morning. Hey, you see that guy swing a helmet?
Mason Rudolph going to his press conference and calling it Bush League and stuff was, all right, dude, go on the sideline when your helmet gets ripped off. What are you doing?
What I mostly remember about the moment, though, was me personally going viral.
What did you do?
As I explained to these 2 gentlemen at the bar the other evening.
Dinner,
dinner. It was dinner, actually. The Rotoworld headline was one of our most, I recapped the game, and my headline was, Ghastly Rudolph tosses 4 interceptions, gets assaulted. And it was one of our most popular tweets ever.
Let's move on. Next up,
Myles Garrett is indefinitely suspended, not just like an end of season,
he's going to be reinstated.
I understand, but the term is still indefinitely. Like, he may not be back. He'll be back. But
we mentioned earlier the 43-0 loss the Dolphins faced against the Patriots in week 2. Well, in week 17, the Dolphins kept the Patriots from a first-round bye, avenging that massive loss and beating the Patriots 27-24. This was wild because Brian Flores, the front office, as much as the team wanted to say that we aren't tanking, well, they trade their best players for picks. And I even sat here in one of our podcasts and said that, I think the league might change the rules to make sure this doesn't happen in the future. Well, what does Brian Flores do? He has some wonderful coaching moments throughout the season, and again, avenges and beats his old team in the New England Patriots.
The Dolphins were outscored, I believe, 102-10 in the first 2 weeks of the season. Looked on pace to be the worst team in NFL history. And to me, people make fun of the Dolphins for ruining the tank, but I think what they did was much better than the alternative of going 1-15, 0-16. That creates, as we saw in Cleveland, that kind of creates a culture that even if it's smart on paper, that you just kind of can't come back from. And the Browns were just disconsolate after going 1-31. And it seemed like it creates such a horrible mindset, the kind of losing on purpose. And if you get the losses, that's fine. But I think it was good that the Dolphins kind of closed at 5 victories, got some momentum going into next year, and they still have all the draft picks in the world. They still have great draft position. I think it was kind of a win-win for the Dolphins.
Disconsolate. How?
I don't know if
spelling?
I pronounced it correctly. It's Disconsolate.
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 Rewarded nothing.
All right. Next up, Christian McCaffrey was the third ever 1,000 producer in an NFL season. Look, Roger Craig did it in 1985. Marshall Faulk did it in 1999. The Panthers may have finished the season at 5-11, but Ian, Christian McCaffrey, 1K.
142 targets for Christian McCaffrey. I mean, they had the happiest 42-10 loss I've ever seen in Week 17 when they were just trying to force feed him the ball and get him over that mark. And hey, you know what? I'm happy he got his targets because that means that Curtis Samuel couldn't.
Well, and this was done, nice dig, with Kyle Allen and done
Will
with Will Greer.
And it took them a full 2 quarters to get McCaffrey the ball because Will Greer in the Week 17.
Yeah, he broke his own running back receptions record. So 2 years in a row now, Christian McCaffrey has set the single season running back receptions record. He is who Dave Gettleman thought he was. Dave Gettleman, the best personnel man in the NFL.
Let's not go there. But it's going to be interesting in a couple off seasons when Christian McCaffrey obviously needs a new contract and will set the market completely.
Yep.
And the discussion around that whole happening.
It'll be very positive on Twitter.
Is Kamara a year before him? Or are they saying?
Well, yes, because Kamara was a second-round pick in that draft.
Okay, gotcha.
So he'll be a year ahead. Next up, Jameis Winston threw 30 touchdowns, but also the wonderful 30 interceptions.
Yeah.
The first NFL quarterback ever to hit that mark, 30 touchdowns and 30 INTs. And Dago, it was done in the most perfect manner, with the last throw of the season being a pick 6 for Jameis.
Jameis Winston threw for the 8th most yards in a single season in league history. And he's a free agent, and no one's basically discussing him. No GM is running to give him as much money as he wants because of those turnovers. But boy, were they spectacular.
He was heavy-handed in his pursuit of a 30 for 30.
He made Brashad Perryman relevant. That's the most amazing thing about the season to me.
Not Baker Mayfield.
I think it's amazing throwing 30 interceptions when you have 2 wide receivers in Chris Godwin and Mike Evans both eclipse 1,200 yards.
Top 10 fantasy wide receivers, yeah.
That's an incredible feat and Jameis is also this type, and he's been this type since Florida State, where he will put you in a ditch in the first quarter, throw a pick 6, and then the next drive have 3 throws that other quarterbacks in the league can only dream of making. And I have no idea how to interpret that.
We've said this on the pod before, but it's literally his career. Heisman year, and then the following year, just a bust with Florida State.
Yeah. Much more of Jameis Winston this offseason. Finally, let's close with the one player that I think defined the 2019 season. Lamar Jackson set record after record. Really, they're infinite. I'll just list a couple here. Most rushing yards by a quarterback in a season with 1,206. And the first player to throw for 30 touchdowns and rush for 1,000 yards in a single season. Ian, when you think back on this season from Lamar Jackson, what will you remember?
I think it might be the best single season highlight film we're ever going to see. It wasn't just how he got the yards, it was how he did it. And it was just one consistent spin. Every single week there's 3 plays where he just left defenders grasping for air. And you know what? He did it all while also being a top 5 most efficient passer with Mark Andrews, some good Hollywood Brown. This is going to be really scary once they get some weapons, maybe someone like John Brown, I don't know, really involved in that offense.
If you're talking about a human highlight season, we hadn't really seen anything like it since Cam Newton's rookie year. But as you just said, two completely different type of seasons. And to me, what's most remarkable about Lamar Jackson, so Cam Newton took big hits, lots of hits. This is always kind of famous last words with dual threat quarterbacks, but Lamar Jackson does a really good job of avoiding big hits. Like, he knows when to go down. He knows when to get skinny. He did not take really any big hits as a runner this year. And that'll be kind of like the key, is if he'll be able to keep this up. Can he? Because to me, he's not just gifted at all that. He's gifted at avoiding big contact.
1,200 yards and 6 passing touchdowns and 7 rookie starts. Like, that was warranted, the questions about him throwing. And I just think his ability, he's still struggling on the outside, along the sideline sometimes, but just his 180 in the passing game was, like, for me, the most shocking part.
Those were the 10 moments that I thought were the most important of the 2019 season. If you have any more, Pat would love to hear them on Twitter, so just reach out to him at RotoPat. For all of us here, and by the way, go and check out more videos over at Rotoworld.com and NBCSports.com.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.